I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. I've been sleeping here.
So, my first impression of Courtney is I actually thought she was pretty incredible. I first got to meet her through a group of girls at Concordia. They all loved each other, they respected each other, they all had actual deep friendships with each other. And I thought that they were very much so a group of friends that I wanted to be a part of.
My first impression of John was I was sitting in his kitchen, and I remember John leaning up against the countertop, and I was sitting at the table, and he just had this long, terrible, scraggly hair and these like horrible cargo shorts. He might have been wearing like socks with sandals, I'm not really sure. And he was just like all dirty, and I was not impressed, to say the least.
And we had a bunch of good talks, and we kind of talked about stuff, and she wasn't afraid to say what she had to say, and you know, really had a lot of good opinions about stuff. And then, you know, she kind of invited me to go swing dancing.
And we would, you know, tell John like, oh yeah, you should, you know, come over sometime. But a lot of times we would just mean it like, you're cool and we're friends.
And so I would kind of take advantage of situations where I could go hang out with them.
But then he would literally just come over all the time.
So, you know, sometimes people will mention like, oh, we should hang out sometime, but they don't really mean it. I would just show up at those times.
And we would ask each other, you know, did you invite him? And no, did you invite him? And
which led to Courtney thinking that I was just kind of this weird guy that showed up every once in a while.
But then he would have these really cool things to say, and I would find myself sitting in my living room talking with him about really great things about God and life and what it means to, you know, just insert a big abstract concept. And he was somebody that I could argue with and think deeply about things, and I really started to enjoy when he would come over, and looked forward to being able to talk with him about stuff. We went on a road trip to my friend Karen's house and really clicked and really hit it off.
So, at first, I actually was not romantically interested in Courtney.
At this point, I had feelings for him. He thinks he did not have feelings for me at this point, but I beg to differ.
But then on this road trip back, we were driving, and it had gotten pretty late, and
so it's a long trip, and I'm, you know, zonked out in the passenger seat, and he's driving, and I'm sure I'm just looking really cute, you know, like head back, and probably drool is like coming down my face, and at this point when I was sleeping, this is what John told me happened, and at first I didn't believe him, and I kind of resented the fact that it happened, and I think that it did.
I was just sitting there, and I feel like God spoke to me, and kind of just like opened my eyes to see like this woman next to me right here was going to be my wife someday, and I basically instantly went from not romantically interested to, oh my gosh, I need to marry this woman, she's the greatest person I've ever met. And I thought that she would be on board with that plan. She was not.
And so even though I started to realize that John was actually pretty cool, it took a really long time before I was ever willing to do anything about it.
But I was able to convince her to go out on a date with me. So we went out a couple times, and then went out some more, and then eventually I convinced her to be my girlfriend. And then after a lot more of that, and you know, she did not think that we should get married at all.
In general, I did not have the best hope for relationships or marriage.
So it was a fun process, and it took a lot longer than I thought. I thought like, hey, this is a great idea, like let's do this. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, you can take your time. And I thought like take your time would be like a month, but it was like a year and a half.
So John and I got to a point where I was running out of excuses to not marry this man.
But I very much so fell in love with her more and more every day as that whole process kept going.
And so it was then that I think I learned in myself all these things that now I can tell you easily in hindsight of just how all of this was so motivated out of fear and fear of marriage. And I had this picture in my mind, like all married couples are doomed to have this really great honeymoon period where, the first couple of years or months or whatever, it's super happy, and then after that you just kind of become these complacent roommates who put up with each other, and the only redeeming factor is that God refines you through marriage, which is so true in a sense, but there's so much more to it that I realized, and there's so much joy that comes with the sacrifice of committing yourself to serving a person for the rest of your life. And so I learned, like, gosh darn it, God made marriage, and it's a good thing. And I can trust in the fact that because it's something He made, it's something that He'll walk me through, and that I think will be a blessing. And so I was praying in my office one day and realized not only have I run out of excuses and reasons not to, but this is like the coolest, most dumb, obvious thing. Like I never realized was there the whole time. And I think it kind of took me getting over that fear to realize, like, oh, John is the coolest man ever, and he's going to be the best husband that's ever existed, and I would be an idiot to, like, ever pass that up. I love how with him I'm able to, like, think so deeply and challenge everything and ask these really big questions, but at the same time act like a little kid and be really silly.
The thing that I like best about Courtney is that she chooses joy every single day. And so no matter what goes wrong or what goes right, she chooses to have joy. And it is well founded in her relationship with Christ.
And he's constantly reminding me that I'm not half as adventurous or half as childlike as I think that I am. And so he really scares me with the things that he wants to do sometimes, like all those like crazy outdoor adventures, and like he really humbles me because like I thought that it would be hard to find a guy who would be willing to do all the crazy things that I want to do and all the wide-eyed ways I want to change the world that are supposed to be like naive and based off of ignorance, but then he's like, no, like let's do them and let's change the world and let's try all this stuff and let's like adopt a bunch of kids and let's give all our money away.
And so she knows that whatever is going on, that the fact that the God of the universe who created her and saved her loves her so much gives her the ability to rejoice in that and to choose joy every single day. And
so he was like on board with this and like everything that I was looking for in a husband, and then like other things that I didn't know would be cool to have in a husband.
Every one of you has had a part in us getting here today. There's been some people who have played very major roles in very specific times in our lives. I think first of all, Ryan Finnegan and Scotty Batstone, they were pretty much the first two to know that I wanted to marry Courtney. And so both of them have been there for me from the very beginning, praying for me. And then also my parents, my whole life of just having the blessing that I know a lot of people don't have of being able to watch their parents in a successful marriage and in a marriage that they love each other and they love God. And so I can't thank you guys enough, Mom and Dad. Dad, thank you for giving me a good example of what it means to be a man fighting for a woman's heart. And then Larry and Lisa Van Laar, thank you very much. You guys raised one heck of a daughter. Through their lives, Courtney really got to see what it means to wrestle with the idea of being a Christian and putting God first and fighting for what you believe in. And I know that Larry and Lisa went through a lot of challenging the way that they were living, and Courtney got to see people deal with real issues. And so I think that really prepared her for a life of not accepting the status quo or not accepting things as they were, but constantly fighting for a real and deep and loving relationship with God, which is the best thing that I could ever ask for in a wife. So thank you, Larry and Lisa. Thank you, everybody who has been here today. You guys have all been a major part. Thank you.